So we talk about the middle joint and the knuckle joint as like being two different ways of playing picado, and I've always been of the school that you definitely use the middle joint, the knuckle joint, kind of like almost like a walking thing. And like you see Grisha, he's like this. He looks like that, right? And he's going at warp speed. But then when you look at some of the other guys like Paco or whatever, it kind of looks like they're more like a claw shaped, and they're moving from this joint. And so then you get this whole school of like the Graf Martinez and the professor or whatever that are basically saying that this is how it works. And that always seemed really stupid to me. But I'm coming around to something in between that. And so I think that actually the key is that you need to use both. Especially if you look at close up at Paco, you see that there's definitely some middle joint action going on there. I mean, he keeps it in this position, and it looks like he's going like this, that, right? But obviously, the knuckle joint is working, obviously, because it's pushing it down. The knuckle joint pushes it down and applies pressure, right? But you need something else to happen, or else it just gets stuck there. And that's something that's happened to me a lot, especially my middle finger. It just gets stuck there. And I think that's because of using too much knuckle joint and not enough middle joint. I think the middle joint is what kind of releases the string, and if you don't, and what happened in the past is my finger would just kind of get fused in this position, and I would just be doing this. And I would just kind of rely on, brute force to get through it. But if you do emphasize this middle joint kind of movement, or at least, emphasize it when you're beginning, what happens is it starts to look more like Paco, and it just gets through the string with a lot less force, and so it starts feeling more even. So I'm definitely liking that. And it's not dysfunctional like this. Just doing this is dysfunctional. It's really kind of related to opening and closing of the hand. You use all the joints when you do that. And so I think picado is like that. And it just feels good. Okay, it's sloppy, but it feels good. And I've also doing that and realized that for my free stroke, I had the same problem. I really wasn't using very much middle joint at all. It was almost just like this, kind of like this. I don't know. It's just dysfunctional. And so I found that emphasizing that middle joint with the free stroke really helped too. So I think what happened is I had this flaw where, because I wasn't using that middle joint, I was using force and kind of maybe using like an arm twist or some weird thing like that, to get out of it. And so, I had definite speed problems, or just fluidity problems, which eventually become speed problems, So, now I'm working on getting that middle joint in there. I think eventually it'll look the same. I mean, it won't look like you're scratching at something, but I think that there will be extra fluidity there. I can feel it going slow, and it's just a matter of just kind of training it. Or whatever, training it in there to get that middle joint. So the way I'm doing it is I'm just put my finger there, and I kind of make sure that I move from the middle joint. I am applying pressure from the knuckle, but I make sure that I get that going on, and I like to leave it there, and then put place the other one with the knuckle, and then make sure that I use that middle joint. And it feels easier to me when I use middle joint. It gets through the string easier, whereas before, if it was kind of just there, standing still, it was like there was too much effort. And what would happen is when I played picado, eventually at a certain speed, and it usually started to have problems, at the classic 120 beats per minute for 16th notes, then that would, it would start to having problems there around that time, just like for so many of us. and I could get faster, but it was always a precarious thing. So I think the key is training it to get some of that in, And then when you see Paco going really fast, it looks like it's all like this scratching motion. And I think the reason is because he's using his knuckle. It's so efficient, and his knuckle is so the movement is so minimal. But that, of course, that is where he is using to apply the power. But that little scratching motion is basically the release. But it's subtle, but it's very important. Anyways, I'm working on this hard. It's taken several months of just really very planned. It feels weird, but it's starting to feel good, and I'm really liking this. So if you have like a heavy attack and it's just there's a kind of a clumsiness and a difficulty getting to the string, maybe it was just me, but give it a try.